And we are live. Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good.
Doing
Doing
well.
great.
Here we are with episode 11. This is what we would say is a redo episode because the
Yes.
entire YouTube's crashed a few weeks ago. And look who is down there below me. Mr. Matt Allard, who we haven't seen for a while. It depends on where you are and how you're looking at the Brady Bunch and, squares and everything. But here we are. So welcome back, Matt. It's good to see you. Glad to have you here.
Good to see you, Matt.
Yeah, I've been missing in action for a little while. And next week's episode, I'll be coming live from hospital.
Ooh.
That's
So
good.
it'll be
All
a
right.
show.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. We are we're pulling for you and rooting for you, and it's all going to be fine. You're in good hands.
Yeah.
And over here next to me, I believe the way it's showing up, we have Melissa Street, who is a makeup artist. She has a long career in the industry, a ton of experience in all aspects of production when it comes to being a makeup artist. And we are going to dedicate this entire hour to what she does for a living. And I'm going to let both Erik and Matt really lead this one. And I want to first also welcome everybody here who is in the live stream and in the chat. If you have questions for Melissa as we go through, Andres has just joined, then please just put an @Newsshooter in the chat. I'll look out for that. And Erik and Matt and Melissa can also see those comments and reactions, but it'll be my job to field those. So I think we just jump in. Welcome, Melissa, to the show and to episode 11. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. This is super exciting because I'm usually interviewed just by other makeup artists, not by my other colleagues. So this is
That's awesome.
Well, it's great. It's great to have you, Melissa. First off, you're a friend of mine, so I think you're just a wonderful person as well as a very talented professional. But I also think that our audience is a bunch of nerdy DPs that love cameras and lights, and they don't get a chance to really, maybe hear what the makeup artist role is on set and how important it is. I think we all kind of realize it at one point when you finally have a makeup artist for the first time on set. Then you realize, holy cow, what a difference! What a difference! It's kind of like when you first time you ever had a sound engineer as well, right?
Totally.
So it just makes such a huge difference. So that's why I wanted to have you here in case people that are watching have never really, maybe they didn't consider having a makeup artist on set, or maybe they do, but they're not really sure if they can afford to and if it's worth it.
Right.
So I think that you're going to just tell them exactly why you should be on everybody's set.
I'm just going to sell it. Let's go.
Let's back up a little bit. Let's talk a little about how you got your start. I mean, I know everybody has their start, but I started off in shooting news and broadcast, and I ended up going into creative services and shooting promos. So we all have our start. Tell us a little bit about how you started getting into this makeup artist business, and did you expect to be a makeup artist?
Never expected to be a makeup artist. I actually thought about being an actress, as all young people do when they're born and raised in Los Angeles, right?
Right.
And it was suggested that maybe I go into makeup artistry. I knew someone whose father was in the business, and he, through his connections, he helped me get into the correct makeup school, which I went for 3 years to makeup school. Super expensive, even back in the 80s, super, super expensive. And I started when I was really young. My mom let me actually go before I was 18, which, wasn't supposed to be happening, but was happening. I didn't go to college. Obviously, I finished high school, but I didn't go to college. So, and then through also these same connections, I was led to a makeup mentor who was ginormously huge. And he was a special effects artist. His name is Stan Winston. And there he is there. And he's, that's the Terminator that's behind him and next to him. That was actually the first movie when I met Stan, he was working on that. And he said, "You want to be an apprentice? Come on in. I could use your help. You're out of makeup school now. Let's see what you can do. And then I can refine and help fine tune, your technique." So there I was, super young, and on the set with Terminator. Not on the actual physical set because I wasn't in the union yet, but I was making like that picture of Arnold. You can see he has a bullet wound. He's going to actually have a wound because he's going to open up his hand, his arm. And I was making those kinds of wounds. You make several of them at a time in a lab. And then I was also doing a lot of cleaning. From Terminator, we went on to Aliens, and that's the other picture that you see there. I was super out of my element. I should have been very humble, and I wasn't. I was very young and thought I knew everything. And, first time on set, you get very starstruck, I think. And that's exactly what happened to me. And Stan eventually said to me, "You're fired." I was on and I was on and off with him for 3 years. My sculpting was atrocious. He's sculpting something for Jurassic Park that was after my time. I couldn't do it. I just didn't have the skills, and he was trying to help me and I wasn't listening. And he finally just said, "You're going to be an amazing beauty makeup artist, but you're never going to be able to do what I'm doing unless you stop, listen, take art classes." And I just got fired. So
But did that open up your eyes to the idea of going on to, doing makeup, like just the physical makeup as opposed to like the models? Then modeling.
I had been bitten totally. And the other thing too is back in those days, the special effects industry was very dominated by men. There was very few women that were in the makeup special effects arena. And so I thought for sure I'd be able to get in. No, you need some chops. You need some skills. They don't just let you in because you're a woman, So beauty to me felt like a step backwards, but I was just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And when I was 25, I got in a car in a Suzuki Samurai with a box and a down comforter was all I owned in my clothes. And I drove to Vegas, and I was going to start over in Vegas. Fresh start. And lo and behold, after couple years, I did. I was mentored again by a wonderful guy named Jem Schofield. Jim helped me figure out where my strengths lie. And one of my strengths is in live production. You'll see Carrot Top there. You'll see Louis Anderson there. I loved working live production. And for some reason, men's grooming started to click in with me, even though we didn't call it that back then. But it started to click with me. And I was able to just really help men get into their characters or get ready for camera or get ready for live stage really, really fast. And then lo and behold, Jim asked me if I wanted to come work at Westwood Studios. Have you ever done anything that was video, like gaming? I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't even know what that was. I didn't even know that was a whole thing. And Westwood Studios was huge. The Command and Conquer there's a whole series that they were making, and they filmed them in a really interesting way. This I understood. This filming process I understood because it was much like film. They would bring in live actors and film them in front of blue and green screen and all of that. And it would generate right into the computer, and it would make them an animated character within the computer. It was like technology I never saw before, but the process of the film, of how they filmed it, resonated with me. So I was really good at that. And if you see the next picture is James Earl Jones, I think. I met him. Yeah, that was like one of the first video things I ever did with Westwood. And Jim was like, "Here you go. Here's James Earl Jones. Take care of him." And I'm like, that's Mufasa, man. That's Darth Vader, man. What, are you kidding me right now? But he was lovely and he was wonderful. And somehow I just did it. I just got it together and I did it. And Jim was like, don't be so, nervous. You got this. You're really good at what you do. And I was like, I'm so young, but I did it and I got better at it as I kept going. There were people that believed in me, The Vegas years were really pinnacle. I got to do some amazing work, but it was only because I took a step forward, and got brave and left my home. David Cassidy working with the EFX was also something that was totally amazing. And live theater, again, live theater. I had some experience back in the day at the Pasadena Playhouse with live theater, did a lot of that there. So it felt real comfortable to me. It felt real easy. I don't know why, but it just did. It was just something like I felt like I was at home there. But I knew I had to get back to California. Vegas was not for me. I got married, I had children, and I did not want to raise my children in Las Vegas. It is an interesting place. So we moved back. We moved back to California, Southern California. And I met you, and working at NBC and doing a lot of really cool other things. But I had to reinvent myself. And that was difficult. That was difficult because I thought I would just slide right back in. Nope. I couldn't slide right back in. I had to figure out, how to get people to trust me again, how to get people to believe that I was a very good makeup artist, that I wasn't an evil necessity, to invest in me because I could help on the back end. I could help in the pre-production process. I could help the production day go a lot smoother. I could help people feel more confident in front of the camera. And then on the back end with editing was also, my husband happened to be an editor. So it was, you learn all these things. And corporate video work became an interesting thing for me. But before I jump into that real quick, there's a picture of me in California in the very beginning. I was asked by a production company to come in and film something called Police Officers Standardized Trainings. And I was like, what the heck is this? What is this? Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor at the time. And he wanted to make trainings available to all police officers and anybody else nationwide if they wanted to use some of these trainings nationwide. So this company would take real case files that turned out awful. Nothing went the right way. They would film them in both scenarios, the wrong way, what actually happened, and then the right way, what the police officers should have actually done. And I did so much. I did sex trafficking. We did robberies. We did some FBI work, some undercover work, how to deal with the homeless, and then boom, 9/11 hit. And that became a whole new situation. And if you kind of just go through the slides a little bit, Jem, that there is me actually drawing a tattoo that's gang related. And that's a real gang tattoo that I had to freehand, but also use some of those stencils that you see next to me. The Taliban became a very interesting situation, and it was necessary that not only the military be trained, but also the police officers be trained, because a lot of these prisoners were being recruited with inside the jail system. And so they hired me to do all this special effects work. And it was things that I just never wanted to know. If you'll go forward, you'll see, I think it's the jail cell. No. Okay. That's me doing some other things. So that's an abusive situation with inside an old age facility. So we did that. You can imagine all these different cases and things that the police and the FBI have to deal with. It is amazing. And it's something that I got a different education by saying, sure, I'll go into that I'm simulating. Obviously that was an officer, that had been in a shooting and he died. That's inside of an actual jail cell. We filmed here in San Diego. Those are actors, but we used the actual real locations of things. And this was for one of those Taliban recruitments. And you just learn so much that you didn't want to know, but it's interesting to know. And I don't know. It was just a fascinating part of my career, and it lasted for a very long time. That had to have been a good 7 years of my career, coming back to California. I never even knew this stuff existed. And doing news with you was a whole nother thing. I had never done news. And my gosh, not just live news, but also just the whole commercial aspect of it, promotional promos, all of that. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about, let's break this up in a couple of different sections
Sure.
here, because
Yeah.
I think I really think your narrative stuff is that seems to be complicated, right? Because you're dealing
Very
with lighting, you got to make stuff look real, scars, blood, all that
Yep.
stuff. How did you learn how to do that? And how would you give somebody advice to where maybe maybe there's a makeup artist who just, that's what they're used to doing, is making people look pretty or making them look really good on camera. But how do you approach making things look real in that sort of environment?
Yeah. You spend a lot of time.
Narrative.
Looking at real stuff. So you might not have the stomach for that. It's pretty gross. That was actually one of my classes in school. Forensics was a class, and I actually took that in makeup school. And you definitely do have to make things look realistic, or people don't buy it. They look at the screen and go, that doesn't look right. And so you have to learn the anatomy of the body, where the arteries are, all that kind of stuff. And makeup artistry in general, when you're a beauty makeup artist, you also know these injuries, because special effects now has taken over into digital. It's taken over into CGI a little bit. It's sculpting, it's not just, let me just make a bullet wound. It's not that anymore. It's way bigger. Marvel has turned the special effects world, and gaming has turned the special effects world, inside out. Also, like The Walking Dead, those kinds of big production television shows. That's special effects, my friend. When you see people dirty on the show or sweating, that's what I do. That's kind of not beauty, but it's part of character makeup. And that's more what I do. So beauty makeup and character makeup, men's grooming, that's what I specialize in. So all of those smaller injuries, you have to learn. And they teach it to you in school, or you spend a lot of time learning it because you're looking at real stuff. So, and you simulate it, and you need to remember too that while your career is going, while you're advancing in your career, you're making relationships and building relationships with DPs, with lighting directors, with producers, and you're supposed to be learning from those people. It is imperative that you learn about cameras, about lenses, and about lighting, because it can change your makeup. It can help your makeup very much. I've seen lighting make a really bad makeup look amazing, and I've seen lighting make great makeup look bad. So it's imperative that you really bond with the people that you're working with, the people you're in the trenches with, and that is the crew. Learning what they do, how you can help them and they can help you. It's very, very important. You can't just the makeup artist on set. You have to be a crew member, it's important. So
Matt, now Matt, have you had experience with having a makeup artist on set, and what did you find? Did you find that helpful?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I think it's an overlooked thing, and I think for a lot of productions, there's sometimes when you really do need a makeup artist. Obviously on films, episodic TV, that sort of thing, but also sort of higher end corporate productions. It's amazing how many times they're willing to spend a ton of money, and then you go, is there money for a makeup artist? And they go, no. And it's like, well, don't you want your people to look as best as they can, sort of thing. So it's very important. And as Melissa was saying, it can make a huge difference, particularly, we've all done it where we're lighting people and things like that. And if you're lighting someone who doesn't have makeup on or hasn't had makeup applied, you always get those shiny spots. You always see them in a lot of interviews where you'll see the light on the top of the head, or there'll be bits gleaming on the cheeks or the nose. And those things are very distracting. And that's stuff that can be taken care of, by the right person very easily and often quite quickly, particularly in sort of, corporate environments where people come in and they have to be turned around. You might be interviewing 6 people in a day, and so the makeup artist has to get that person ready, sitting down to be in front of the camera, sometimes within, 10 or 15 minutes. But just having that ability to have someone there to actually be able to then also do it, but then also have a look at what it looks like under the lighting and the camera conditions, and then make a change, it makes a huge difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
It really does.
And then,
In fact, oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say was, you know, when NBC7, where I work, we made a decision several years ago to always have a makeup artist on set. It was something that we hadn't done, you know, for many, many years. But but my boss, Heather, at the time, was very adamant about, you know, making everybody look amazing. And once, it's kind of funny because once you have a makeup artist on set, to me, it reminds me of the first time I worked with a sound engineer, a soundie on set. I was thrilled. It was like, I don't have to deal with audio. It's like liberating. And having you on set was amazing. It always is amazing because I don't have to worry about getting like, oh, well, didn't you see that hair? It's out of place, or did you see that shine? There's some things that I got so much to worry about, right, Matt? We're worried about the sound and the lighting and making sure the shots are blocked and how many takes we got to do and did we get a good take? And there's just so much going on in our technical world. Not having to, you know, you got your eyes on there, you're looking at the face, you're looking at the hair, and you know, and I love it when you just say, "Can I step in?" I'm like, yes, you can, because you're going to fix something. Maybe I didn't really see it. You saw it and you fixed it, you know, and it just, you're playing back, you're, you know, go back in the edit bay, you start editing and you're just like, dang, man, everybody looks so good. And, you know, I didn't catch that flyaway hair or something sitting on the blouse that doesn't look quite right. So, yeah, it's such a big asset. And I think you said something that was really, really important is that, you know, being a makeup artist, you like to understand what lighting, what camera I'm using, you know, and then I remember you upgraded your own kit lights when you're doing pre-makeup, you know, to match more with like daylight and tungsten. So you can really see, because you would ask me like, are you shooting in tungsten lighting? Are you shooting in, you know, and so that attention to detail makes a huge difference.
Yeah. It was something that I when I started discovering how light changed my makeup, and how cameras and lenses changed my makeup as well. I started asking those questions, you know, what's the set lighting? Are we shooting, you know, in 32 or 56? What are we doing? And the second I used that terminology, which is from the lighting world, these lighting directors were like, how does she know that? No other makeup artist asks me that ever. And I was like, well, it's because I need to set my lights in my makeup room to get as close as possible to what you have here on the set. I mean, there's no point in me doing makeup in the wrong lighting because I'm just gonna have to tweak it when we get to the set. So let's save some time. And I have my own lights. I'm not borrowing their lights anymore. Let me gel what I need to gel, you know, or whatever. Or I would invite the lighting director in and say, hey, what do you think? Does this look like on set? Or how do I tweak it a little bit more? Can you take like 5 minutes just to tell me? And that created a whole different relationship with these people all of a sudden. And then also my reputation got bigger. So, and it's the simplest little thing, but it's something that I think that, you know, true makeup artists, we're always evolving. Technology is always changing. Makeup is always changing. Trends, you know, people like all of a sudden different kinds of colors and all this stuff, you know, and you have to stay up on it. And, you know, my kit is forever changing because things go bad in my kit.
Well, and I've noticed that about, because you have a very active Instagram on there, and you do a lot of lives, and you're always showing and teaching. I love that about you because you're an open book for people. When you figure something out, you want to share it, and it's a lot. Like you invest a lot of money in your tools and in your makeup and trying new things. Is that a common thing, or do you think that a lot of makeup artists sort of get into their groove and like their certain products? And I know DPs can be like that about cameras, you know, they kind of like always want to work with the same camera.
Yeah, I like to be able to provide my clients with options. Men don't care. But I will tell you this, I perfected men's grooming. There is a definite product that is in my kit that I will not be caught dead without that in my kit. It has saved me time. It has made men feel very comfortable. I can do men's grooming in like 5 minutes, as long as I don't have to shave anybody. And they can't believe that they have makeup on. And I'm like, I just need 5 minutes. I need to balance out your skin, and then you can get out of my chair and you can touch your face and you can do all that, and I'll be on set with you. But seriously, we don't have to go through the whole brushes and, you know, all this stuff that makes you feel non-manly, you know. And it's a perfection thing. And I'm always looking at, what can I do better? How can I be better for my client? How can I be better for my talent? How can I be better for the crew? You know, how can I help get out of here and get the best out of the day, you know, so that we can capture the most images, so that the editor can do what he needs to do, and the client is getting their money's worth, all of that stuff. So that's always constantly on my mind. I will tell you that corporate video work also has really fine-tuned my skill level, because I'm working with real people. And that, I mean, I never get to know who I'm working with ahead of time. There is no, here's some pictures, you know, nothing like that. So corporate video work was very lucrative for me. It was small crews, right? They always wanted their CEOs or their politicians or whatever we were doing to look really great on camera. And that's a confidence thing. I felt like that's what I did. I was the last person to see anybody before they went to set. I could make or break their attitude. I could make or break how they felt. Men are already in makeup, they feel uncomfortable. But when they're not looking like them, you know, something different, they're not themselves. That was, I realized I was very valuable in that respect. Making that talent feel good when they're on camera, when they're nervous already, you know, but they feel more confident, you know. And that's what I always wanted to bring forth, was, you know, helping people feel better. I don't feel great when I'm on camera, you know, I'm like, you know, but you know, that's what I knew I could do that. I knew I could help people out that way. So, and corporate video work is actually one of my favorites. It's just, I'm so fast with it. I enjoy it. I learn constantly. It's not just working with an actor. You're working with people who can really teach you some things. You know, whether it's business related or, you know, technology related or whatever it is, you know, science related, whatever, it's really interesting work. So I enjoy it.
I had a funny experience this was back in the day when I was a news photographer in my very first job. And I was with Dan Rather. He was at a thing, and I was doing an interview with Dan Rather. I mean, I was like 23 years old, so it was a long time ago. And we didn't really have, you know, they required a makeup artist to touch him up. Sure. And she made him look like a woman almost. It was sad. I was freaking out. I was like, man, he's put rouge on his face and powder. He looked like a corpse, you know? And I'm like, Jesus, this is Dan Rather, man. You can't do that to Dan Rather. So it's really, having someone that knows what they're doing is so important. Yeah. And also with men, like you said, with men's grooming, I think you nail it. It's like, the men have to look like they don't have makeup on, where women want to look just as awesome as they possible, right? Enhance. Sure. And I think once they see that in the playback monitor, they realize, oh, look at that. I look pretty good. I might do this tomorrow.
The other thing too, especially with news, or if two people are standing next to each other, a man and a woman. If you have a woman that's super made up, and I'm talking lashes and the whole spiel, and you have a man who's not made up, that looks super unbalanced. It's strange. It's not good for the editing process, you know. I remember getting called by a friend who was an editor, and also he was a producer. And he said, you know, we're doing a reshoot and I need you to come in and do this makeup, because I'm spending tons of time and tons of money correcting skin tone on this man and on this woman. And they wouldn't hire you to begin with, because they didn't want to spend the money. But the woman wore a shirt that came down lower, and you can just see the different skin tone here. And her face, she did her own makeup, so her face was really light, and this was all super dark. And he was just spending tons of money, and they still didn't want me to come in and do the makeup. I was still too expensive. And so he ended up at the end of the day giving them an invoice, and it was like 10 grand for editing. And it was
Had to
way
fix all
over.
the problems.
Yeah, it was way over, and they could not believe it. And he was like, if you would have just listened to me and shut the padlock off your wallet, it would have been okay. You would have saved so much. I would have saved a ton of time. I would have been able to save you a ton of money. I know what I'm doing. And from that point forward, he had me written into a lot of his contracts when he would have other clients come in. He was like, you just need a makeup artist, and that's just it. We provide you with a makeup artist. That's just it. So his budgets always included my services, which I was very, very grateful for. But he needed it, and his clients responded. They looked better. I have a picture, Jem, of, if you want to show it real quick, this is something I kind of use in marketing sometimes. It's a picture of my husband, and he's white balancing in front of a talent. So the talent's been through my makeup, but my husband has not. And you can really see the difference. I don't know if Jem can put it up. You can really see, yeah, there it is. So you can see the difference of
Poor John.
husband, his shininess. He's got, redness in his skin, some ruddiness, and my client just looks, smooth and no like dark circles, and he doesn't have any shine. And that's the thing too. Shininess, man. Shininess feels like lying. Yeah, it feels like you're lying. You're hiding something, why Nixon lost the presidency, all that stuff. Still
you can't
true.
fix that when your skin blows out. If this goes over 100 IRE, it's done. Like, you're gonna have to pay someone to basically sample some pixels in there to force it to match. It's over. It's just like the sky being blown out or anything in a scene. And your eyes. Where's your eyes? When anybody's on camera, you're looking at their face. And if you're going to have all that hot stuff going on, that's not a good look. Not a good time.
Super distracting. We also find that, continuity is a thing these days. Sometimes corporate video work too goes on longer than, a day. And it's important that I get the same look. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in as well. We don't want somebody looking totally different. Hair can't look different. It has to be very consistent. And I do think that that's something that when you're a makeup artist and you've had a lot of experience under your belt, your consistency becomes very good. You get, you just understand, it's something that's artistry, you just get it, and you are able to do it over and over and over and over again and keep that continuity. So I think makeup artistry is, like, I understand about the expense of it. But just like any other crew member, we help. So I hope people, take some time and really figure out why artistry is so important. I do notice that Andreas is asking a question, which is a question that I get asked a lot. Can I address that right now, or do you want to do that later?
Okay, you absolutely can.
Okay, thanks. So Andreas is asking, would it be good to have a basic makeup kit if they couldn't hire someone like me? Could I advise someone of a good basic makeup kit to have for interview documentary style shooting? And I can do that. And I have done that in the past. But my response is, okay, except there's a lot more that I do besides actually applying makeup. And your talent has to have the ability to see that you're keeping things clean and that you're not using the same product over and over and over and over again on different people. You can't hand them a compact that you've used 20 times and say, put this on. Okay. Especially nowadays, people are way more aware. Okay. That's why, and that can be things like called cross-contamination. You can literally give people pink eye. You can give them clogged pores. You can give them all kinds of little things that, gross, okay, disease and viruses, things like that. And if you don't know how to properly take care of that makeup, then I feel guilty that I've instructed you on which makeup to carry.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And I mean, people are always like, oh, well, I'll just hand them a sponge and we'll toss it. Doesn't matter. That's an applicator. It's what went into the makeup and then put on the face, and then went back into the makeup and then was put on the face, and then went back into the makeup. You can't keep doing that because you're contaminating the actual product. So while yes, I can say that, I can definitely, give people advice on what kind of little kit to carry when they can't afford a makeup artist. But really, honestly, you're jeopardizing insurance. If you have an insurance bond or whatever, I mean, to me, you're jeopardizing that. And I don't want that to happen to you, and COVID definitely has taken it to an entirely new level. So,
right. Well, maybe we can touch that because that's actually a good segue into sort of like what's been going on, because I know, most of my friends are all struggling too, the jobs are thin, and, while the future seems bright in the last couple of weeks, seems like we have some positivity happening with vaccines, we still are going to have to work like an active virus is everywhere trying to get people sick and sets are opening. Have you been back to work? I mean, when did that start kind of happening, and how's it been, and what's it like working as a makeup artist on a set?
Well,
in COVID?
Makeup artists are always, not all makeup artists are clean. Okay, I will tell you that. I spend an enormous amount of time in prep and in pre cleaning and preparing my makeup kit to go to a set. And unless I'm doing a union gig, I don't usually get paid for prep days. Okay. So, but I'm taking it upon myself because I'm a business owner, and because I care about not just my investment in my product, I care ultimately about my talent and not causing them sickness or illness of any sort. And COVID has taken that to the massive extreme, because now not only do I have to do it for my product, for myself, for my talent, I have to do it for my actual makeup space, where beforehand we weren't, we were concerned we would wipe down surfaces and things like that before our makeup would go on the surface. But now it really has to be seriously clean. And you can't open up your kit like you used to be able to. I used to be able to have bags upon bags. You've seen my makeup room sometimes, Erik, where there's just a whole runway of bags, and the bags have all been open, and there's makeup everywhere, not uncovered makeup, but there's, I have a bag full of foundations. I have a bag full of powders. I have a bag full of lipsticks, all this stuff. That's a total actor bag right there, out in the elements, which cannot happen today. You'll notice that those bags are open and that makeup is out like that. Cannot happen these days. And that's some lighting. You'll see some makeup there that's open. We cannot do that anymore. Your kit actually can be, there's the current kit. It has to be, all those bags can be there, but everything has to remain closed. So those cylinders all have brushes in them. I used to be able to open up those cylinders, and not anymore. It's airborne. Everything is porous. Brushes are porous. Your clothing is porous. You can't open up to the elements until someone's immediately sitting in your chair. So you'll notice too that on the right-hand side, there's like a mascara that's brand new, that's not even open. We have to do those kinds of things now. We can't use disposables quite as much, even though disposables are very acceptable. But you're talking also too about the environmental impact, on that. Constantly using a sponge, throwing it away, using a mascara wand, throwing it away. Where is this all going, and what does it have on it these days, right? You'll see that plastic bag. That's actually a cape. It's a full-length cape that I wrap my clients in, kind of like a bar cape, but it goes all the way down to their feet. And that has to be washed all the time, one for each person. We used to just put one cape on the next person, same cape, we can't do that anymore. We have to have several capes now, and they have to be washed and dried and then put into those plastic bags. You have to carry massive amounts of hand sanitizer, massive amounts of Lysol, massive amounts of 70% alcohol, which is what we always used. And that's, how we disinfect. What I didn't know, and I found out recently, is 70% alcohol actually has an expiration date. Didn't know that. Never knew that. And my car was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Sure enough, on the very back, there's an expiration date. It means basically that, things are just not as powerful. So they're not killing what they're supposed to be killing. You'll see the gloves there. We never used to have to wear gloves. Unless we were doing some special effects work. If I was working with the hair, something like that, that's different. We never used to have to wear gloves to apply makeup. It feels very strange. We can wash our hands, but if you're away from a water source, it's better to be able to have some gloves, especially if a client or a talent is squeamish about some things. Seeing those things on your on your chair. I never used to, on my table. I never used to have to bring all of that with me, but that's part of my kit, and that's an investment.
And it's a pretty sizable investment, because
it is
first off, that stuff is like a commodity right now. I mean, it's gold. I mean, you must have had a difficult time acquiring it early on, and also you didn't just make this stuff up. You had to, you got certified, right? You took a class, and you have you're kind of like a document holder, right? You can tell people you're certified and get you on set.
I'll tell you, there's a couple things, because you want to not be. You don't want to appear to be an expert, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a nurse. So you don't want to appear to be, knowing more than you actually do, or an expert in some field, but you want to get as much information as you can so that you're protecting yourself and your talent and your crew, right? There's actually a book that I never had this before that I put together. This is called The Makeup Artist It's a sanitation standard. Oop, can you see it? And I keep this with me. There's pages and pages and pages of basic information on how to be clean, what the difference is between disinfecting and sanitizing and sterilization. Those things all have different meanings. People want to know now, a lot of talent wants to know, are you working sterile? Impossible. We don't work sterile. We don't live sterile. We don't, we're not working in a hospital. We're not going into a surgical room where it would be sterilized. Yeah. We work in the elements. So it's impossible for us to work sterile. And you can't give a talent the thought in their head that, oh, I'm sterile. I'm working sterile. She has no bacteria, no nothing. I mean, we work in the real world here, but what you can show them is you're working clean. And that's very, very, very important. We have to clean after every single talent now, no matter what. So your chair has to be wiped down. All the surfaces have to be wiped down. The brushes that are used, they have to be put into a closed container. They cannot be in an open container any longer. And that takes time. So when people are scheduling, if you're a producer or an AD, second AD, whatever, if you're scheduling these things, you have to remember that the makeup artist can't just do one talent after another talent after another talent. They have to have like a 14-minute window in between, something roughly like that. The alcohol itself for the spray down, this takes a while, a couple minutes to do what it's supposed to do. Okay, so I can't just spray it and then put somebody in the chair. I just defeated the whole purpose. This has to take a second. It takes like a couple minutes, 5 minutes. Same thing with something like this, with Lysol. It takes a minute. It doesn't absolutely happen. The only thing that's in my kit are the Barbicide wipes, and that happens. Barbicide is something that we use in hair product or in hair tools. That works in 2 minutes. That's the fastest thing that I have. So I can't bring somebody in over and over. It can't happen. And I think that that's been one of the biggest problems. Everything has to be put into plastic containers like this and labeled. This is teeth and eye stuff for a talent. So I have a lot of these things. These can be put in the dishwasher. and they're heavy duty PVC. While I don't like putting more plastic out in the world, this is something that I can sanitize, and clean. All brushes, same thing. I have to now figure out which brushes I'm using for which talent and put them in individual containers now. So I'm bringing more to set than I used to. And of course, the almighty mask, which we never, ever had to wear before. It's not unusual for us, especially if you're doing effects work, for us to wear these. But this on top of it has to happen.
Oh, that's a probably more comfortable to wear a shield that way than it is on your.
Very.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's a nice one. That's good.
Yeah, this is a nice one, and this is also something that we're using now for talent because it doesn't go over their hair. Talent immediately have to remove this when they sit in the chair immediately, which makes me on the front line and them immediately open to everything. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so you're so close contact with the talent. I mean, you can't do makeup 5 feet away, 6 feet away. It's just not impossible. You can't do it.
Impossible. So you're in their face. So that whole trusting thing, that whole can I trust you is major. Okay, major. And we give these to the talent now too, because it doesn't have to go over their hair, and it doesn't have to touch their face. So at least if they can't wear the mask, they can wear something like this. And these
so that would be like between takes, right? You would just say, here, put this on instead of, so at least they have some kind of protection because they're fully exposed. Talent generally is on set. Yeah,
exactly. I wear this all the time, but we'll also have them for each talent, and this can be cleaned and disinfected also. So that's something to point out. So you're not, having to throw this away. That's how it's changed. And sending out things like this that also has my certifications in the back, which are, things from like, here's one. This is certification. This is for official Barbicide certified. This is just so I know how to disinfect and clean, what the differences are between it. I have one that's specifically for COVID-19. This is Safe Sets International, so I can go international if I needed to and work on any set. This is a COVID-19 also. And then the bloodborne pathogens thing. This is very, very important. How you transfer, things through blood or through saliva, stuff like that. So this is it's very, very important that makeup artists stay schooled. It's a constant. You're constantly learning. Things change.
Did you have any serious reservations about going back to work when COVID hit? What were the things that were sort of going through your head? And obviously, I guess you've had to go through and do all this sort of training and get up to speed on the best practices. But was there a time when you were thinking, oh, I don't really want to be this close to talent at this particular time?
Yes. Actually, when COVID hit, I was on set. And I was working with a company that was out of Malaysia, and they had come here. They weren't actually able to get back home. And we were freaking out. The crew was freaking out. It was a lot of crew from Los Angeles, because we were hearing every day something was going on. We had 7 days straight with this crew, and everybody was freaking out. We just didn't know what was going on. We were all fine, but it made me fear anybody sneezing, anybody coughing, anybody having a little bit of a, temperature. Oh my gosh, I'm so close to somebody is breathing on me. I'm breathing on them. It was scary. And to be honest with you, the other thing is too, it made me think about everybody else's family, where they disappear to after we've been on set together, and what are they bringing home? What are they bringing back? Do they have any family that's immune compromised? Because I do. And that scared me. I have older relatives. That scared me. I was very hesitant about taking jobs. And when work started trickling back in, it was very important for me to know that I had some kind of COVID-19 protocol in place. And I would ask, and if they didn't, they would get super nervous. You could hear it over the phone, and I was like, look, I'm not showing up unless you have some kind of plan of action, to take care of things. I have a corporate client that I've worked with for 12 years. He has 181 pages of a COVID plan. He's got, a couple hundred employees. So it's very important that nobody gets COVID. And I was like, I'll work for him. He's got 181 pages of a plan. No problem. And, that made me feel good. But there were other productions that were just willy-nilly. There were sets that I showed up on that they didn't have hand sanitizer for crew. They didn't have anything. They expected crew to bring all their own PPE. And I was like, listen, that's hard to get, super expensive to get it. Yes, I carry it for myself. I also invest and carry it for my talent, but I'm not here to be giving out PPE to crew, like sunscreen. Yeah. Okay. So it's very, very expensive. And there are times when I would show up and I was the only crew member that had any PPE or any kind of disinfectant, and I'm like, this is just ridiculous. We're putting ourselves at risk and this is not okay. So yes, union gigs, the IATSEs took over right away. They brought in expertise, scientists, things like that, doctors and virologists, and they came up with their white pages, which is all their rules of how they were going to handle COVID and work, in the entertainment industry from there forward. And so they have different rules than what non-union. There is no rules for non-union. You have to police yourself. And of course, I am able to get the white pages. I belong to the 122 down here in San Diego. And so I was actually looking at a lot of that stuff. And I just decided I would take matters into my own hands and do what they do in the union. I don't wear a smock and I don't wear anything on my head as far as like protecting my hair. But, I decided that I would do everything I possibly could in order to make my producers, my talent feel comfortable and understand that they can trust me, that I'm not putting something contaminated on their faces. So it's important these days. And so also maybe not so many people want to hire makeup artists for this reason, but I feel like it's better to hire a professional and someone who is educated and takes this very seriously. And you can tell because their makeup kits are immaculate. My makeup kit is immaculate. So, and I work very clean. Erik knows. It's like, can't have a mess. It just doesn't work for me. It's gross. So if I wouldn't sit in my own chair, I ask that and I teach that a lot. Would you sit in your own chair? And if you wouldn't sit in your own chair, then you have a big, big, big problem. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Is Erik's paused, I think, or
I think he's frozen.
That's his I'm listening intently face. And that's what he does. So it's all good.
Okay.
Matt, do you have any other questions for Melissa? Just in terms
I was interested to know, with the recent increase in, camera resolution over the last few years, has how you have to do makeup changed considerably given what it's showing up on set in terms of even, makeup or special effects or wigs, things like that. Has that changed dramatically given the push of resolution?
Dramatically. Well, we used to film on film, right? And digital work is the new thing. It has to be realistic. It has to not be overly done. And makeup artists, sometimes more is a lot more. And we throw some blood on it, throw more blood on it. And then all of a sudden you have this big, crazy looking, weird, massive murder scene. And it was just like somebody who just nicked themselves bleeding, when they were shaving. I mean, it's just like, you can't do that. You have to be very aware of what the final outcome will look like. And you have to be very aware of what it looks like while you're on set. Look at a monitor, does this read realistic to you? The colors that you use, lighting changes colors of like blood. There's different kinds of colored blood that we use for different lighting. for different reasons. Beauty makeup, there's a lot of trends that have happened. A lot of like what we consider to be corrective makeup, or has come from a different area of artistry. It's not meant to be used as beauty makeup technique. It's not meant to make a female look more like a female, but they're still using those techniques. So they're, making contour and blending thing. They're not blending things right. And they're using these heavy products that on a digital camera, no way, Jose, on bright daylight, just looks absolutely crazy. We're not doing film anymore where you can throw up a filter, you can make things look so pretty and highlights are happening. And, those days are gone. It's got to be lighter touch, with mass payoff, with pigmentation that's going to pop the skin or pop, your eyes or whatever. And so that takes a very delicate touch, and it takes a knowledge of product and skills, obviously. And so I spend a lot of time, looking at products. I get a lot of products sent to me from different companies, and some things work and some things do not work. And you have to try it out. You have to use it on yourself. I have something called a 10-time mirror. And I wear everything that gets sent to me. And if I can see it in a 10-time mirror, I will not put it on camera, because on an 8K, 4.6 or 8K, there it is right there. You can see the brush stroke that I use to put the makeup on with, and it's just too heavy. It just doesn't mimic skin, and you really have to mimic skin. Also, there's a big trend of putting highlight everywhere. Let's highlight the nose, let's highlight the cheeks, and highlight on television looks like sweat. It's that hot spot that Erik was talking about. Well, nobody wants to see this. I get a lot of directors that are like, don't put the highlight on there. Don't make them shiny. I can't have it. And women love it because they think, wow, one of my lights just went out. Women think that, that's going to make them look younger. And really, it's a combination of good makeup artistry, lighting, and a camera, The
other thing I wanted to ask you too is just finally is, if you're going to hire a makeup artist, you're a director, you're a DP, you're a small crew, whatever, and you want to hire a makeup artist, what are the couple of key questions they should be asking that makeup artist to see if they're the right person for the job?
Sure. Well, that's a really good question. Obviously rates are always a thing, always. And making it clear about your budget, whether it's restriction, you have a budgetary restriction. Producers who call me that approach it with, the budget's really tight. Everybody's got a tight budget. Okay. Everybody, if they didn't have a tight budget, I would know what to do. If nobody comes to you saying we have $32 million, let's go shoot something great. Nobody has that kind of budget unless you're Marvel and you're making a massive feature film. I know you're working at a corporate situation. You're not going to have tons and tons of money, but don't insult me. It's important that a director ask about possibly how often a makeup artist has worked on a specific type of camera package that he's going to rent for the day, whether it's a Blackmagic, a Canon, a C300, whatever it is. And I'll be shocked if a makeup artist can actually, most makeup artists can actually answer that question. But it's important to know if they're carrying makeup for all different types of ethnicities. They should be researching the websites. Makeup artists should know how to do proper makeup on every single ethnicity that there could possibly be thrown into their chair. And it is an art form. And that's the first thing that if there's a makeup artist and they show you on their website that they're kind of regurgitating the same look over and over and over again, they're a one-trick pony. They're not someone who can do television, film. Maybe they've done bridal mostly, and bridal makeup artists don't actually do the same thing that I do. I don't do bridal. That's a whole different art form, so it's important for a director or producer to understand the different types of makeup that is out there and do the research on the artist, understand what your medium is. Like, you want somebody to look good. You want to save on the back end of editing, what the lighting package is, what do they know about lighting? What do they bring to the table? Basically, what do makeup artists bring to the table besides just a brush and some powder? And that's another thing. Don't just tell makeup artists, it's going to be a quick little powder. You just need some powder. Nobody just needs powder. Okay. So it's not, nobody just needs powder. Nobody, no guy, nobody. Okay. So they need to be put through a process. I get told that a lot. It's just gonna be a little bit of powder. Just a little bit of powder, And if I just showed up, if you're paying my day rate and all I did was show up with a brush and powder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
How does that make a makeup artist?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I am the clock keeper. That's my job.
Okay.
And I will circle back and I will say, not only was this incredibly educational and informative, and anybody who watches this will not only learn more about you and your career, but really, especially the second half of this show, I think is just incredibly educational for all of us. I mean, myself, Erik, Matt, we have been doing this for some time. I think the three of us do understand, going back to what Erik had said earlier on, I believe it was you, Erik, is just realizing the absolute value of the first time you hire a sound recordist, the first time you hire a makeup artist. And and when they're great, you don't want to hire anybody else, because it's not just about your talent and in terms of what you can do with the talent that's part of a production, but it's also everything else about the collaboration, working together. Nobody wants to work with people that are hard to work with. We want to all work with people who are really good at what they do and are making the product better. So I just want to say to you, Melissa, thank you so much for coming back again for the second time to redo this, and for sharing all of that knowledge. It was just amazing. Really,
of course.
really great.
I'm honored to be interviewed by your crew peers, not just another makeup artist, which that's great, but your crew, that means so much to me. You have no idea how humbled I am. When Erik first came to me, that was just like a wow situation for me. Thank you very much. So I very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great having you on, Melissa. Thank you so much. No, I think Jem pretty much nailed that. It's always good, to understand what everybody else is doing in the industry. You know what I mean? It's really good to know what a DP is doing, what the lighting director is doing, and how they achieve what they do, and how you as a makeup artist achieve what you do. And that really just, I was thinking, like, when you watch those Formula One races, and the guy, they're running into the pit, then you got like 15 guys. One guy does one tire. One guy puts the gas in the trunk, in the car, and, and then boom, they split and they go, and I think that, a really fluid set is kind of like that pit stop, where everybody knows what they're doing, and it just becomes, it's just so much fun. Anyway, I really appreciate you on set. I can't wait to work with you again. I miss you.
I know. I miss you.
We've had a few shoots, and I haven't had makeup. So, and I'm just, I can tell a difference, trust me. But, we got to get by right now through this with the rules that we have here at the station. But trust me, you'll be back as soon as things start to cool down.
No, I know. Truly, you guys, it's I really appreciate you letting me share what it is that I do, what it is that other makeup artists do, what we can bring to the table. And hopefully you guys learned who not to hire from what I put out there. That I think is really important. If you've hired makeup artists in the past and you're very unhappy with their service, here's a little reasons why. They might not be so educated, and they might have sold you kind of a bill of goods, or they only work in a specific genre, and there's many different genres of artistry. So, and we're not an expert. Not everybody is an expert in just makeup in general for everything. There isn't. There's many highways, many avenues that makeup artistry goes down. So it's important to really research when you reach out, to hire someone. So
Awesome.
Good point.
Very cool. All right. Well, we're going to continue this next week with Philip Grossman, who's coming on. So we're just going to keep having guests who are amazing people in our industry. That'll be on December 9th at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. And Maddie Boy is going to be joining us from a hospital, an undisclosed location somewhere in Tokyo, Japan. And hopefully he'll be coherent. He will be.
I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to maybe a slightly drugged up Matt. I think that would be that would really make the show, add a different kind of an element to it.
Be throwing porridge with my spoon at the screen.
Yeah, get you on some of that funny sauce. Matt on some funny sauce. Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank
Bye
you
for
guys
now.
again.
All right.
All the best.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.
We'll see you soon,
See ya.
Matt.